Hi, so it's Ginny again, and my friend Jelly Belly, who always climbs right up close by when I'm about to start reading. And we're in the middle of a book called The Wild Women of Lake Anna, our own Lake Anna right by here. And this is chapter 3. And we're learning about Bailey Fish, who's 11 and has just moved up to live with her grandmother for a little while. She's moved up from Florida. So chapter 3 is called Florida Girl. I'll only be gone a few minutes, said Sugar. My cell phone number is written down on that pad on the counter right by the telephone, if you need me. I've got to talk with my friend Harry about the dumping, and then, when I get back, we'll go to Mineral. Bailey heard the phone ring after she had gone to bed last night. She couldn't understand what Sugar was saying, but at times her voice was loud and she spoke fast. Bailey figured it had something to do with the pollution. She was surprised that Sugar was going off without her, but when Sugar asked, "Are you sure you don't mind staying home alone?" all Bailey said was, "I'll be fine. I am 11. Home. That still sounded funny. Home should be in Florida. But the house where she and Molly had lived since Bailey was in 2nd grade was going to be rented out while they were both away. Home was with Sugar, at least for now. After playing much too much during their first night in Bailey's room, Shadow and Sally had collapsed next to each other on the couch. Bailey decided not to tell Sugar that the kittens woke her up 3 times with their games, because she wanted them to keep her company at night. Rather than disturb them, Bailey decided to look around the yard while Sugar was away. A few green shoots had pushed their way through the clammy, reddish-yellow soil. It was so different from the gray, sandy yards of Florida. There were no palm trees or hibiscus or prickly pink bougainvillea in the yard. Sugar's big trees had a few buds but no leaves. It was too early for spring. The chilly, damp air seemed to go right through her lavender-hooded sweatshirt. She put her hands in its pockets. "Virginia sure is cold," she thought as she walked down the gravel driveway to the road. As she neared the mailbox, she saw a boy about her age with his back to her. His bike was on the ground near him. He had dark hair that looked like it hadn't been washed since he was born. It also needed cutting. "Hey," she said, trying to sound friendly. The boy turned abruptly, dropping the butt of a cigarette he had been trying to light. He gave her a hard look, picked up the butt, and put it in the torn pocket of his gray jacket. "What are you doing here?" he demanded with a sneer. "You shouldn't go around surprising people." "I live here," said Bailey, wishing she had stayed in the house. The boy's scruffy brown dog, with one ear up and the other half chewed, stood behind him. Both glared at her. "Who are you?" he asked coldly. "Bailey Fish." The boy didn't say anything, but just looked her over. Then he said slowly, "So I heard. That's a dumb name." Bailey couldn't think of anything to say. Nobody had ever said that to her before. "Cat got your tongue?" asked the boy. "Just so you know, I'm Justin Rudd." He turned his head and spit. "The Rudds have lived here a long, long time, and we don't like new people. Newbies get in our way. They want to change everything." Bailey remained silent. Justin took a step closer to her. "Where are you from, Bailey Fish?" He said her name like it was all one word, a word he didn't like. "Florida. I just moved here," she said, stepping back. I hear you live with your grandma, Bailey Fish." "That's what my dad says." "Yeah, for a while," she said. "What's the matter, Florida girl? No mother or father, Or don't they like you around, Florida girl? The back of Bailey's eyes stung and her throat felt tight. She didn't want this awful boy to see her cry, so she bit the inside of her cheek to stop the tears, something she had done since she was very little. She really wanted to run, but instead put her hands on her hips and stuck out her chin. "None of your business," she said as bravely as she could. But she didn't feel brave around this mean boy or his dog. The dog looked like he would bite her if Justin told him to. The boy unwrapped a stick of gum, dropped it in his mouth, then threw the wadded paper into Sugar's driveway. "Well, Baileyfish, this ain't Florida, as you'll see. Besides, my daddy says your grandma is an old busybody bag. She's always snooping around stuff. He says he'd like to fix her wagon for getting him in trouble with the law. So you'd better watch out, Baileyfish, and your grandma too," said Justin. He spit again, then tossed a stick for the dog and started down the hill on his bike. The sun disappeared behind a large white cloud. Bailey shivered. She opened the mailbox and gathered the long white envelopes. She looked for something with her name on it, but all of them were addressed to her grandmother. One was marked urgent. Bailey took one last look down the road. Justin and his nasty-looking dog were gone. "Good riddance," she said, as she picked up the gum wrapper to put in Sugar's trash can. She hoped there were kids besides Justin in the neighborhood. Sugar hadn't mentioned if there was anybody her age nearby, and Bailey hadn't thought to ask. Bailey put the envelopes on the kitchen counter near the toaster and decided to wake Shadow and Sally. She hoped they would warm her cold hands and make her forget that terrible boy. New chapter. And so I'm going to start doing 2 chapters each time I come and read to you. So this is chapter 4, and it's called Email for Bailey. Sugar scowled as she opened the mail. The letter marked urgent contained a laboratory report on the pollution. It was based on water samples that she and her friend Harry Smith collected 2 weeks earlier. "This doesn't look good. We've got to find out what's going on," Sugar said. "Toxic materials are leaching, that means spreading, from an illegal landfill in someone's yard and getting into a stream that goes into Contrary Creek and eventually the lake. It seems to be getting worse lately." Sugar seemed to be talking to herself, but Bailey listened carefully. When she lived in Florida, Bailey had done a school project about different types of water pollution, and she remembered how stinky the beaches smelled when fish died during algae blooms called red tide. She remembered that one Sunday she and her mother were enjoying a picnic at Englewood Beach until the wind shifted and suddenly everyone started to cough and sneeze. The smell of rotting fish was so bad that they finally went home. Although scientists were not completely sure what caused red tide, Bailey learned that some thought it might be pollution. Whatever the reason, red tide and pollution were not good for the birds or fish and other creatures that live in the water. Bailey received an A on her report and won an honorable mention in the district science fair. As soon as Sugar finished reading her mail, she said, "So how was your morning? I'm sorry I was gone longer than I thought." Bailey wanted to tell her about meeting Justin Rudd, but Sugar didn't give her a chance. "Let's check the email," she said. "Maybe there'll be something for you." Sugar booted up the computer, an old, slow one, and clicked on the envelope icon on the bottom of the screen. The email messages were displayed. Sure enough, along with a number of emails for Sugar, there were 2 for Bailey, one from her mother and one from her best friend Amber. And you can't see it here, but the emails are sent to Sugar because that's the address people have, I guess. But then the subject says for Bailey, so she knew that the email, what was said, was for her. So the first one's from her mother. We just said that. My dearest Bailey, how I miss you. The plane ride to Costa Rica was pretty bumpy. You wouldn't have liked it at all. I was met at the airport in San Jose by Manuel, my driver. We headed into the mountains near Volcano Arenal, where I will be staying and working and doing some of my research for a while. I hope you're having wonderful adventures with Sugar. Be sure to help her with housework and the dishes. Gotta go. I only have a few minutes to use the computer we all share at the lodge. Love and kisses, Mom. And from Amber, the email says, I really miss you. What's Virginia like? Have you met any new friends yet? Mom said I can take gymnastics this summer. Right back, your friend Amber. Bailey told both of them about her new kittens and that Sugar was trying to stop a polluter. Then to Amber she added, I met a really horrible boy on a bike. He made fun of me. Virginia's okay, but he isn't. His name is Justin Rudd, but I'm going to call him Justin Rude. I miss you too. Best friends forever, Bailey. Sugar called from the other room. Tomorrow I'll set you up with your own email address, but for now log off and grab a jacket. We're going to town. Okay, that's it.